What's up, guys? Josh with RussellMarineProducts.com coming to you with an install on the new Garmin Force Trolling Motor. See you in a sec. All right, guys, so we're going to get going on the install. Couple quick notes. To start, these are drilled to match Ultrex 4Trex holes. So if you're making the switch over from those guys, don't blame you. We can go ahead and just use the same mounting holes. Makes it nice and easy. Watch your fingers when you're doing these. So this armature is how they're going to come up. They have that dual shock assist. So it's a double piece, and we're going to get into this a bit more here in a sec. Bring everything on up. Don't smash your fingers. Just lift all the shocks out of the way. And on this particular boat, we did have a 4Trex mounted, so we pulled that off. The holes line up perfectly. So we're just going to go ahead and drop some bolts in, tighten those things down from underneath. We'll be right back. Hey, remember when we discussed earlier, don't forget the strap on the unboxing video? I forgot the strap. Don't forget the strap. All right, guys, so we got the base all mounted down with the included stainless steel screws and brass lock nuts with washers. And we're going to move on to putting the motor to the base. This is not what you guys are used to. This is not a base that simply has the motor section that goes on and bolts on. This is a little more complicated. Justin's going to come in, give me a hand here. We're going to use all 4 of our hands to get these axles and things going through. That's right, I said axles. See you in a sec. Okay, guys, so we're ready to go ahead and attach the motor to the base or begin the process. Again, this is not your straightforward, just bolt her on there. It takes a little bit of effort. So here, your pull cable, you need to make sure that's kind of routed and laid over the best you can to keep it out of your way for the moment. This is going to be attached by a series of 2 pivot pins to the 2 different levels of the bracket that are coming across. We're going to start with the bottom bracket. We're going to put a couple of bushings in here, and we're going to push the first pivot pin in. That is going to be held in place by this pin that's going to be held furthermore by the top shock. Like I said, it's not just bolting it on. So hang tight. Justin's going to get over here and help me wiggle this thing together.
I am.
You are. So this, guys, we've got 2 bushings that come from the inside here. It can be a little bit tricky. Just be very careful to make sure that you don't kick those bushings out and lose them. And we've got this large pivot pin. We're going to push her through there. Just have to tell me where I need to go.
You're about right there. Okay.
This is something that the guys in Garmin insisted we don't use a hammer. So we're going to go ahead and follow those instructions. We're not going to use a hammer, at least on camera. There you go. Yeah, come on through. There you go. Okay. Keep working the pin until it's even. So it's not going to be able to show you guys on camera, but this pin, the pivot pin, has a groove. On this groove, there's this sliding pin here that's going to move forward and into the groove of that pivot pin on the bottom armature. That is in turn going to be held in place by this top strut shock claw in position when it's mounted and screwed down. That's what we're going to go ahead and do now. We're going to go ahead and mount this top shock, holding the pin in and pushing everything through. All right, guys, so we have the top shock in place. We have it mounted down with the plate here that then holds the keeper pin that goes to the pivot pin for the bottom part of the mount. Moving forward now, we need to take the pull cable and route it up through the motor at the top and make sure we're keeping it going the right direction as we continue to move forward here. So for the next step, we're going to go ahead and pull the next piece over. We're going to pull the top section over and start getting that in with the second pivot pin. All right, so we're moving on now. We're going to attach the top part of the armature to the control system, the motor itself. Couple things to prep. So with this pivot pin that they give you, it's going to have a Allen head, so number 4, a hex head actually, or Allen head, and a washer that goes on each side. Find it easy, go ahead and start one on one side, that when you go to push the pivot pin through, it's not just passing back and forth, and it makes it easier. Then you can hold from one side, tighten down the other side as you go through there. Another thing to keep in mind, as we're moving forward, we're going to start looking at connecting our wires to the control panel on the top arm. This is all kind of done a bit in tandem as you're getting everything together. Last critical part here is getting the top armature swung under the motor itself, and you're going to have to do a little bit of lifting on this, mounting it on a boat on a trailer. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this guy up. I'm going to get her up in the air so you can pivot the motor forward. As you can see, we're back in here and underneath, and you can bring it back.
Come over here, Aaron, and get a shot of this.
Okay. Once you got it up in the air, guys, you're going to take the wire off the motor itself. It looks like a NEMA connection. It's not a NEMA connection, but that's what it looks like. You're going to have to feel around for the key for that to pop into place, and then the threads will tighten down, and that will be hooking the control box on the base to the motor itself. Not the easiest thing in the world to do. Just take your time and make sure you get it lined up.
I know where the key is now.
There you go. Locked right in. I'm assuming you guys are seeing at this point, this is not a one-man job. You're going to have two sets of hands to get this done. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and lower her down now, and we can work on getting the pin in place. You already have the bushing in on the other side. I'm going to get this one in. I'm going to lift up. Now this is kind of a trick in and of itself, guys. You're working this in between the power wire and the main power wire going up the head and the pull cable on the motor itself as well.
Good.
All right, and we're through. I'm going to go ahead and set it down, let it lock in, and we're going to tighten the screw from the other side. All right, guys, so here we are. So we've got the second pivot pin in place with the bushings. We have the control box on the base hooked up via the wire to the motor. Now we're in the home stretch. That's the good news. So we're going to take the 12-pin transducer wire and the main power wire, and we're going to begin to route those down the side of the trolling motor and get ready to install to the power in the boat. It's very important when we do this. You're going to leave, it's called a service loop. You're going to leave some slack. You're not going to pull straight in here. If you read the instructions in the Garmin book, I think it calls out something like 40 centimeters or something along those lines. A couple feet. If you build this kind of a D-loop that's just slightly in front of the trolling motor when it's fully deployed, and then you can start routing backwards from there, that's going to be pretty groovy. And where these are going to go are right down this channel on the starboard side of the trolling motor. It's a pretty tight fit in here, so you're going to run the transducer cable through first. The transducer cable has a bigger end on it, and if you don't run that through first, it's going to get a little tricky. All right, so we have these worked through. Got a control loop right in front of the motor part itself. Garmin does include, let me grab a couple parts, some clips. So there's a couple of sets. You're going to have a set of clips that are actually going to hold the transducer to the power cable, transducer wire. And a second set of stainless steel clips. They're going to be used on either side of the channel that you feed the wire to hold. And then again, when we actually go to the stowed position, it'll hold the power wires back up against the base. Going to move forward, get these cable clamps on, get everything tidy up, and move forward. All right, guys, so now we have our cables pretty much routed about where we want them, going down the sides, ready to move forward and go to the stowed position. So what we're going to do, kind of the last step before we stow her down and continue hooking up power and all that, is installing the T-handle on the pull cable. This one is a pretty straightforward system. There's a small hole in the middle here. You see a stainless steel. It's going to go up through, drop in with a cotter pin, and then the two pieces of T-handle will go together. It's a bit of a trip on this guy. These screws are tiny, tiny, tiny. So be very careful and don't lose them. Not kidding, they are tiny. Okay guys, so we're ready to go ahead and install our second shock and get a couple of the other wires buttoned up. One thing to keep in mind, so when you go into the stow position, the shock is going to be laying under here. If you can see it on the camera, you need to swing the shock up. Don't have to get it all the way in a position, but just get it up in the air and then lower the rest of the motor on down. That way you'll actually be able to access the thing to get it hooked up. All right, so now that we have our bottom shock mounted, last little couple steps, we're going to take our cables, route them to our last cable tie here on the bottom of the motor, and go ahead and install the prop. Then we're moving forward to wiring. All right, so now I'll turn to my lovely assistant, Justin. He's going to be hooking up the power wires. On the Garmin, as it comes off, it's dual power wires, so dual positive, dual negative. We're running the 36 volt system on the old Cobra here, actually also running dual power wires, so two positives. Not normal. So, you know, the one thing that's going to be a little odd to look at, you're going to look at a total of 8 wires being connected together, 4 positive, 4 negative through 6 connections. Yeah. Anyway, bolt them together securely. We're going to isolate with some electrical tape. One thing we want to talk about here is something that you guys call in and different questions on power. Dedicated power. We cannot hammer on that enough.
No plugs.
Trolling motors, units, you name it, man. Run a dedicated power to your batteries. Running dedicated power to your trolling motor batteries without a plug on your unit. Dedicated power to the cranking battery. That's going to solve so many problems. Things you might think are software problems, or, oh, my trolling motor, the GPS isn't working right. Power, power, power. Make sure you have it hooked up, connect direct. All right, guys, wrapping up. Justin's got it all powered up. We heard the beep. It came on hot. We're just going to install the prop. A quick note, something we always do here at RMP, something just a good quick tip. Run prop in. If you run prop in, your cover's going to fit better. It's not going to get torn up as much. So spin this guy over, prop in. So I'm going to line up the grooves on the prop with the pin in the axle so it seats on securely. Go ahead and start building your stack. So aluminum spacer, standard washer, lock washer, and finally the nut. We'll put the ratchet of that guy, snug it up, and finish her up. So for the basic install, guys, it's about where we're at. We're powered up, everything's installed, everything's in cure, stows, deploys like it should. One thing I want to talk about, that dual shock system, it's easy. It's very easy. I can stand down and I can pull. In fact, I'll show you. Let's take a walk around. I can stand here, very gently pull on this cable, lift up with one hand, and it's super controlled. I can easily do that with no issue. That is not a super common thing, guys. To unlatch it, gentle pull up, and I'm back up again. So there you go. I'm not stomping on it. I'm not standing on it. I don't have to get on the boat to get enough leverage. Pretty nice operating system for the latch and the shocks. All right, guys, so there we are, wrapping up the install of the new Garmin Force Trolling Motor. A couple more videos coming down the road on it. Of course, we're going to do some on-the-water footage, go over some of the new features, also go over the linking features, not only with the remote, the wireless foot pedal, but with the EchoMap Ultra 126 SV. Just another thing that we wanted to go over, didn't quite cover in the middle of the video. They have 2 versions currently, a 57-inch and a 50-inch. When you ask the guys at Garmin's, they say, as compared to the competitors, it means Minn Kota, the 57 is comparable to a 52, and the 50 is comparable to a 45. We put the tape measure to this thing. Again, I'll go in depth in new videos, but that's exactly what it is. So when you guys are doing your shopping, the 57 is not pushing close to a 60, it's a 52. And when you're looking at the 50, it's a 45. So I don't know why Garmin decided to use nightclub measurement standards as basis of their competitors, but they did, but now you know. 45 inch equals 50, 50 inch, 57 inch equals 52 inch. Hope that's confusing. We'll see you guys next time.